Well, good evening, freedom fighters and Alberta patriots. It's a privilege to be back here again this evening to share a few of my concerns and to listen and answer your questions. But I have to say that a shocking event has happened this afternoon, earlier today, I guess, with the arrest of my good friend Maxime Bernier from the People's Party of Canada in Manitoba. Very concerning to me to think that they're going to start arresting the opposition leaders for speaking out. This is an absolute attack on our constitutional freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and it's just unacceptable. I don't know how many of you have seen or heard about the arrest. The Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms is representing Max. I haven't heard any good news yet on whether or not he is, getting bail or anything for the weekend. It's kind of upsetting that they're doing this, on a Friday afternoon to stop his rallies for the weekend, but it is what it is. And I don't know, maybe David, we could throw up the video here of the arrest, if you don't mind. I know that's out of order, but kind of changing things up for the evening. But David, could you throw up the...
Afternoon, sir.
Yes, yes.
Clark with the RCMP.
Yeah.
I can get you step out of the vehicle. I'm going to place you under arrest right now.
Yeah.
Right now, you're under arrest under the provincial health orders. Okay, so if you can just put your hands behind your back, face towards the vehicle. Okay, give me one hand here.
I'll just stay in the vehicle, okay? Thank
Yep.
you.
The other hand. Do you have any weapons or anything on you, sir?
Weapon? No weapon. Only
Anything on you that's
only
going to
my
hurt
words.
me or anything like that?
Sorry?
Anything on you that's going to hurt me or anything like that?
No, anything will hurt you. Only my words. Only my philosophy. Only what I believe in.
Okay. All right, come on over this way. I'll explain a few things to you here right away.
Anyways, I just can't believe 15 months into this. I don't even know what you want to call it anymore, but it's just unbelievable. 15 months into this so-called lockdown, and the collateral damage that it's causing to businesses, the stress and the economic problems it's causing to individuals. It's just unbelievable to me that the government has continued to oppress certain individuals, certain businesses, and picking winners and losers and saying which ones can and which ones shouldn't be allowed to operate. And again, last summer we saw Antifa and Black Lives Matter when we're supposedly at the epicenter of this. It was okay for those protesters, but freedom fighters and those who want to go against the lockdowns are being attacked. And it's unacceptable. And I hope that you will take the time to write and make phone calls to your MLA, your MPs, and express your deep concern for this. It's just, to me, shocking that we continue to go down into this, especially when we're heading the summer months. All of the numbers are going down, and yet we have this attack. Like I say, I can't imagine that we're in this situation. It's been bad enough. Well, it's just been terrible for the pastors that have been arrested and for the restaurateurs. And now they're going after politicians. That is just unacceptable. And we need to continue to speak out in the best in any way that we can. I want to switch for what I was actually going to talk about tonight, because I'm just getting, it's nauseating to me to watch the virtue signaling of our different individuals and businesses that are out there, and the attack on the oil and gas industry and on our freedoms. But maybe if we could put up Andrew Lawton from True North did a great mocking on Chrystia Freeland. David, maybe let's play those videos for the people if they haven't seen this one of Andrew Lawton's from True North.
Oh, I didn't know we were on. Hang on. Hi, welcome to the Andrew Lawton Show, Canada's most irreverent talk show here on True North. I'm so sorry you caught me off guard. I was all masked and ready to go. I always wear a mask. You're never going to catch me without one. I just, don't worry about that. Wait, I'm starting to sound like Chrystia Freeland, aren't I? Oh, yes, forgive this little bit of fun at Chrystia Freeland's expense. A couple of times now, she's been caught just putting on a mask at that exact moment when it is politically convenient for the sake of optics to do it. The first was this little video clip of a press conference.
I may not have turned them on. All right, welcome to today's press conference. Bienvenue à la conférence de presse d'aujourd'hui. We will now hear from the Deputy Prime Minister.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, what do you know? Put it on at the last second just to take it right off in a performative act of mask virtue signaling. And then a couple of days later, she's posing for this big group photo outside the G7 finance ministers meeting. And oh, what do you know? She's the only one masked. Everyone else is unmasked. But then you look at some of the other pictures that weren't used, that were circulating on Twitter, and you see moments before the picture is taken, she is scrambling to put on her mask just to make it look like she's always wearing it. Well, if that isn't just performative, theatrical nonsense, I don't know what is.
Well, that's really something to see the hypocrisy and the virtue signaling that carries on. It's very upsetting to me. And again, this last week, we saw the same thing with our premier, who's telling us that we can't get together. We can't get together as families. It's changing this week. They're increasing again now where we can get to, I think, 33% of church capacity. Buildings are opening up a little bit more. Yesterday, I was able to go to a restaurant and to eat inside, which was wonderful again, to having that for those restaurateurs and people. I just truly cannot hardly believe how long these people have been locked down and whether or not they're going to be able to survive, or what kind of debt load they've had to take on in order to still keep their doors open, and whether the banks, have extended it. But you truly have to ask yourself, are they in a death spiral now? Are they going to lose their business in 6 months or a year from now because of the heavy impact that these shutdowns have had on so many businesses? But anyways, it's just sad to me and upsetting. And I don't know. It's just so hard. What can and what should we do? I had the good fortune of being up in Edmonton. Gosh, what day is it today? Saturday, Thursday, was Wednesday, I think, with Maxime Bernier in Edmonton, speaking to a anti-lockdown and freedom rally there. It was wonderful. The people were out in the rain. It actually stopped raining towards the speeches there, but just a great group of people coming out, very concerned. And there's just so many areas to be concerned about. I want to go, well, maybe what we should do is to go to our Q&A, because it seems like we run out of time every time. Just realize that I'm willing to continue this fight. We're not going to give up and put pressure on Premier Kenney and the hypocrisy that we have here in Alberta, and fight for the freedoms of every Albertan. We've just got to keep the battle going and not slow down. But David, maybe I can look here. Do you want to start throwing up some questions that we have, and we'll address those tonight and see where we go. How soon after you become the premier can I expect a referendum on independence? Well, old timer, not sure if you're referring to me or that's yourself. Anyways, we will have one as quick as we can go possible. But the thing that you have to realize is that as we form government, there's about 6 steps that I say that we have to take in order to be ready for an independence. And probably the most important thing is we take and exercise our full autonomy and our power to stop Ottawa's intrusion and the effect they've had on us. to give Albertans the confidence that we want a successful referendum, not a quick referendum. And so the two biggest things that I talk about all the time is collecting all the taxes here in Alberta for Albertans, and number two, to have our own police force. And I'm not sure whether that'll take us 3 months or 6 months to get set up and to get in place. You know, we got to get our own pension plan, our own employment insurance. And so there's a lot of things that we have to get in place. But before we have a vote to be sovereign, we want to have all of those steps in place, our immigration policies, our environmental policy, and all of those. And again, it'll really depend on what Ottawa does, because if they start attacking us, then we'll have a referendum sooner. If they recognize the situation that they're in and allow us to exercise our full autonomy so that we can show Albertans the benefits of being sovereign and independent. But I'm very confident that it will be within 2 years of forming government at the next provincial election. And it could be as early as 6 months, again, to me, depending totally on what Ottawa does. But hope that answers your questions, and thanks for that, because it's something that's near and dear to many people. But like I say, it's about having a successful referendum, not having a quick one, because we're in a situation today that if we were to have a referendum, we would in likeliness lose that, and then that would take away our ability to exercise our autonomy. Next question, David. Paul, who do you support federally, PPC or Maverick? Well, excellent question. There's two thoughts here. First of all, when you're having a divorce or a separation, it can be amiable, or it can be really ugly and dirty. I have no animosity towards the Easterners and their socialist lifestyle, and how they want to live, but I have a real problem when they want to impose it on me. And so there's two options that you can take here, and I want Albertans to think and consider what it's going to be. But one, the Maverick Party is a protest vote. They've said that they're just going to go out and vote against anything and everything that isn't in Alberta's interest, and I respect and understand that. And the PPC, though, when you look at Maxime Bernier's plan and policy, this would actually fix Canada to be a functional place. And I wish for Canada the best and want to be functional. And so to me, if you're looking for a fix rather than just a protest vote, then you can vote for Maxime Bernier and the PPC. If you just want to send a message that you're mad and you want out, then you can vote for the Maverick. But I'm grateful for those people that put in the effort to give us choice, and I'll leave that up to Albertans to decide. But thanks for the question. Honestly, how do we get out of this? Oh, Marilyn. I have to confess, my biggest fear is whether we can survive till March or April or May of 2023. Seriously, between Premier Kenney and Justin Trudeau, we're in a chokehold. That they want to kill our economy. They want to strip away our businesses. It's scary for me to think how much damage they've done in the last 15 months, how much money they've spent in the last 15 months, and what they're going to do going forward. The best two things that I can say, how we get out of here quicker and sooner and start to get our freedoms back, is we've got to continue to increase. If every month, every Wild Rose Independence member found someone else to join our party, and we doubled every month for the next 3 or 4 months, I think that would have a huge influence on the way Jason is leading, and he might actually start standing up for some of our freedoms and against Ottawa. But the two things we need the people to do is to join and become a member, and to donate. We need money to be on the road, to build pamphlets, to get door droppers. We want lawn signs, and it would just be so helpful for our cause and accelerate what we could do if every member could reach into their pockets and donate $15 a month. It would just be phenomenal how that would accelerate our ability to get out and to advertise and do things, and realize with a $15 a month donation to the party, that literally is only a donation of $4, because for the first $200 you get a 75% tax credit. So by donating $185 a year, really you're going to get $135 tax credit and only $45 out of pocket for that. And we just need to keep stressing that for those who can afford it, those who can give more, it would be wonderful. But we need memberships and we need donations. That it costs money to operate the Wild Rose Independence Party. We've been having great financial support, but when you compare it to the NDP and the UCP, we're we're a poor partner in this political race. And I want to say that we really need to start building a by-election fund. I just wouldn't be a bit surprised with what's going on and with the Western Standard story of Jason having these secret meetings. If that breaks and is true, I see the MLAs ousting Jason, and we'll have a by-election, in the next 6 months. And so it would be great to start donating and building a campaign fund, and it would be kind of exciting to realize that the MLAs are even disgusted themselves with what's going on. But again, that's all speculation. But appreciate the question, Marilyn, and we'll do the best we can to survive until we have an election. Is there another question, David? Just looking here to see what's coming up. There we are. Laura Michaelis. I own a motel restaurant out of Milk River, and I've had to take on hundreds of thousands in new debt just to survive. It's disgusting. Sorry here. Laura, I've met too many small business owners like yourself. It just really is immoral what the government has done to you and to business owners. And I don't know, other than being a sovereign independent nation, I don't know where or how we're going to break out and get into this freedom. But it's just been unbelievable to me how he will continue to double down, even in the fact that our numbers have been going down. They never ever give us a baseline and say, in previous years we've had 400 people, 500 people. Our ICU beds have always been maxed out. All of these excuses, this fear mongering, is unbelievable to me. I just don't know why they carry on, except for the fact that they're part of the globalism, that they want to have a great reset. They want to destroy Alberta's economy. They want to kill the Alberta spirit. And they're doing a dang good job of it, in my opinion. And we need to fight back with everything and anything that we have. And I hope, Laura, that you'll be able to survive. But that debt, just the fact that these businesses that are shut down even have to still pay their property taxes and business taxes is just, it's criminal to me. And again, we really need to go after these politicians and these bureaucrats that have imposed these restrictions. I've said right from the beginning that anybody who's in the decision making and shutting down businesses or anything else, they should be giving up what they're taking from other people and businesses. And if they want to shut you down completely, no problem. But they shut down their salary, they shut down their opportunity to make a living, and just see and understand what it's like, because it's different just shutting down your income. But when you have a business and the expenses that pile on, it's truly upsetting what they have done to different businesses. And I've talked about some of the other just draconian ideas that they've taken on and imposing on businesses. But Laura, I wish you the best, that you can hang on, and that come 1st of July that we'll go back to fully open and be able to carry on. And we'll see where this goes. But God bless you and your family and your business, because the government certainly isn't. Rose, can Ottawa stop us from separating if the majority of us vote for it via referendum? That's a question that many people ask, and I kind of relate it to a divorce. How can the other partner say that you can't leave? They can maybe try it in the courts and whatnot, but we're going to take the steps so that we'll be fully independent. We'll go for our national security. We will be doing everything and anything that's necessary to ensure that we can be on our own. And again, by collecting the taxes and having them here, that's the first and most important thing. And having our own police force and our judicial system, what can they do? They can squawk and complain. But I just don't see how they can stop us when the people vote and say that, this is a broken, dysfunctional relationship, and we're through and we're walking away. End of story. And we're not going to share our bank account with you. We're not going to let you send in your federal agents to, whether it's put people into quarantine places or anything else, that you're out of here and we're running you out of here, and we want to be a rat-free province, and we also want to be a federal-free province that will get rid of all of that federalism that has caused us so much pain and problems. But appreciate the question, and we're going to fight till we win, and no, they won't be able to stop us from leaving. Beverly, when we separate, is it correct we will still get our OAS and our CPP? Excellent question, and one that I get from all of the seniors. First of all, I don't know that Albertans realize that we contribute about $7.5 billion a year into the Canada Pension Plan, and our seniors only receive back about $5 billion. So we're sending out $7.5 billion, getting back $5.5 billion. And so what that means is that we can actually reduce the premiums and enhance the benefits to our seniors. And we will ensure that they will have a better pension plan here in Alberta than we have with the CPP. It'll be better for the workers and it'll be better for our retirees. But I appreciate the question, and we will make sure that it's better. Patricia, it is wise to try to force Kenny to resign now or leave him in and vote him out in 2023. I don't know that it's us that's forcing him out. He's forcing himself out with the actions that he's taken. And again, whenever you're in a broken, dysfunctional relationship, eventually it falls apart. There's no question, if you asked me today, that I'd sure like to go up against Jason in the provincial election, but it'll be what it'll be. And we can't back off and say, oh, we want to keep this person or these people to run against. Hey, whoever's in there, the fact of the matter is that they'll probably be the same or worse. That's usually the way it goes with political parties, that you see them continue to deteriorate. And you have to realize that the majority of caucus has been for all of these actions. And if they weren't, I think we wouldn't have had to endure them for this long. And so this is the mentality and the thinking of the UCP MLAs. Yes, there were 17 or 18 who signed an end to lockdown, but signing a piece of paper, as brave and as courageous they think that is unacceptable and not enough. They need to walk away from the party. They need to sit as independents, and I would certainly invite many of them to look to the Wild Rose Independence Party and want to join us after a vetting process, and we see if they're going to be true and be freedom fighters, or whether they're going to be federalists. But anyways, appreciate the question, and we will see who it is that we run against in 2023. Rob, I know this is more of a federal issue, but I own a respectable sized YouTube channel. Where do you stand on what the feds are trying to do with Bill C-10? If we were our own nation, would you repeal Bill C-10 and prevent my channel from being censored? The overreach of the government, the growth of government, the power of government to intrude in our lives and into the things we want to do is unbelievable. But Bill C-10 is truly just repulsive. It goes against every democratic thing that we have. Freedom of speech is paramount, and this censorship is unacceptable. That they should have pounced on the big techs years ago. I was disappointed that President Trump didn't act on them when he was in office. He figured, I don't know what he figured, but we should have put them in place, and we will have freedom of the press. We will have freedom of the internet. Those things have to be protected. And the best way to discredit misinformation is to allow it to be out and to be criticized openly. But this isn't about the false information. The government is actually the one that's protecting it and not allowing the truth to get out. And so this is a censorship on truth. Every totalitarian government does this. And it's just scary that we're here. But yeah, Bill C-10 will not be in effect. And we will have zero censorship on these type of things. You'll have the rule of law. And if somebody slanders someone or defamatory comments, we'll let the courts deal with it and what happens. But this idea to have big tech or big government to be the deciders and the fact checkers. They're a bunch of liars and deceivers, and they have an agenda, in my opinion, for the collapse of our economy and wanting us to be part of this global reset, which is just unacceptable. And we can't get away from this sinking Titanic quick enough, in my opinion. From Sean, what is the plan for when the NDP gets in office next election? They're not going to. I want Wild Rose to win, but we know that most likely we'll have a split and end up with the NDP. How do we survive 4 years of while Wild Rose builds a base? Well, first of all, I want to say it's not about splitting your votes. It's about wasting your votes. I believe that the ballot question is going to be, are you going to vote for Alberta? Alberta first, or are you going to vote for the federal government and continue to allow them to have a chokehold on us? The NDP and the UCP are federalists. Jason said he was going to stand up for us. He's failed, a complete failure. Rachel, come campaign, we can talk about all of her last acts and what she did. Sheila Gunn Reid put out an excellent book, 2 books, The Destroyer and Stopping the NDP. We'll be using those and talking to Albertans to remind them that they were not good for Alberta and going forward, and the attack on our oil and gas industry. I mean, Rachel has been fighting the pipelines long before it was popular, and her people were, and the people that she brought in. Right now, people are saying they're voting for NDP because they're sick and tired of the UCP. But as we grow and as we can advertise, and once we can get out and have summer barbecues and get talking, I really believe that you'll see that wave come over, and it'll be not don't split your vote. It'll be don't waste your vote on federalism. Let's vote for freedom. Let's vote for a future. And that future is with WIPA, myself, and those MLAs that get elected. And we will truly fight, and we will win that freedom for Alberta. But don't be nervous of the what ifs. This is kind of like walking on a balance beam. If you're on a 6-inch painted line on the ground, there's no problem. Most all of us can walk straight down that 6-inch line. It's amazing when you lift it up 4 feet and you get on a gymnastic balance beam. All of a sudden, people lose their nerve and they're not able to walk down there. And don't get that fear that's put out there about splitting the vote and the NDP winning. Don't split the vote. Vote for something that you believe in. We're way past this idea of voting for the best of the worst. Vote for what you believe in, and we'll be successful. But if we're nervous, we can't walk down the 6-inch beam, and we can't vote for what we believe in and what we know to be right. It goes back to old Bible Bill Aberhart, the first social credit premier. He said, if the people haven't suffered enough, it's their God-given right to suffer more. And I guess we'll go through that. But the other point is, too, is that the Wild Rose is the only government at this point that has promised to bring in a workable Recall and Accountability Act. And Rachel had the audacity to go after Jason and his bill, saying it wasn't good enough. Well, Rachel was in the House when I presented a recall legislation, and she wasn't for it then. And if she really wanted the governments to be accountable and people can ask, are you going to bring in legislation that you can be recalled? Because if she would have brought in recall legislation, she wouldn't have lasted a year in Alberta with the draconian economic policies that she pushed forward. But anyways, we're not going to split the vote because Albertans aren't going to waste their vote. But excellent question, and something that I get asked constantly about. So thank you. Okay, Anne, can you think of any circumstances where the chief medical officer of health should cast aside the protected grounds listed in our charter? Also, what is the name of Laura's restaurant? Let's have a plug for her. Well, Laura, maybe you can put that back on the web here. No, that there should be no circumstances, in my opinion. We need to learn from history and learn from what's happened to us. And the Constitution and our freedoms need to be paramount. Sorry, I've talked till I'm hoarse in the throat here. But historically, the Canadian Health Act and the Alberta Health Act, it's been an education act where they try and bring in the best information. And again, I think that government is often offside on it. I remember when I was young, and they said that we couldn't eat butter anymore, and we had to start eating margarine. In the early days, margarine was hydrogenated, or water was added to it. And it took them a lot of years to figure out that, wow, hydrogenated vegetable oil was worse than butter. And so now we've got non-hydrogenated oil. But, you know, the government's job is to go out and to get the best information possible, and to have a way to disseminate that, or access for people on the web to say, you know, here's the latest research on this health issue or on this one. And to put up, you know, and here's a contrary one that we have here. But this is like going into a courtroom. Do you only allow the one side to defend, and you don't hear, you know, if the prosecutor gets to attack the individual, but there's no defense? And yet that's what we're at with our Health Act. And I'm sorry, I just do not agree with many of the decisions that they're making. I just think that the most disgusting one of all is this idea of vaccinating our youth. I can't believe that Premier Kenny is wanting the 12-year-olds and up to be vaccinated to get to the 70%. This goes against the Nuremberg Code. This goes against humanity. This is just wrong. That this vaccine that they call hasn't gone through the standard 2.5, 3 year safety things. When you go to the VAR's website in the U.S., there's been over 5,000 deaths. The deaths since this vaccine has come out for COVID, there's been more deaths associated with this vaccine than in the last 30 years of all the vaccinations that we've put out there. There's a lot of unknowns about this, and to continue to push this, and I mean, like I say, the University of Lethbridge, oh, come get your shot, and you'll get in the lottery for free tuition. The coercion and stuff that's going on, I believe, is criminal. And I just look forward to the day when we've got some lawyers and some individuals, and I know there's some that are working on it, that actually go after these people for the crimes against humanity. It's wrong. And Anne, I know that you've had a family loss because of this, and nobody can replace that. But the fact of the matter is that this is crimes against humanity, and the fact that there is no rights. And our prime minister has said that, you know what, I'm not concerned about your rights at this point, and we don't need to be in jail and saying we're safe now. But thanks for the question, Anne, and appreciate it. So there it is. Thanks, Laura. It's the Sandstone Motel and Lounge in Milk River. And anybody who's passing through, you know, it's interesting. I talked to an individual today. His 85-year-old mother just came back from Lake Powell. She's a feisty lady and still getting out there and doing everything. But every year, her and her friends go down to a houseboat on Lake Powell. And so she flew into Great Falls, Montana, which is about 2 hours from the border. And there's a service that literally are driving people to the border. She walked, when you get there, they drop you off, you walk across. Her son was there to pick her up. And anyways, they're saying, well, where are you going to go? She says, I'm a widow. I'm going to be, you know, living at home by myself. And they gave her 2 tests that say you got to test these things. That, anyways, they called her up today, and they wanted her to go on to Zoom so that they could witness her taking the swab and her test and then sending it in. I mean, it's just unbelievable what government is doing. And again, we're just days away from opening up. But yet you would think that there was a tornado or something coming, and we've got to lock everything down, and that you know, all hell's going to break out, and it's the end of the world. It's just crazy. But anyways, it's doing what it's doing. But those people that are heading down south to Milk River, it's a beautiful place. You can camp there. You got writing on stone that it's I don't know, is it 35 miles east of Milk River? But they got a beautiful golf course, and a lot of people love going down and camping there. There's a few other campgrounds. I can't remember the name of it now, Golden something. But come on down to southern Alberta if we can't leave the province. Come on down, and Milk River is a wonderful place to spend a little bit of time and golf and to camp and head out to Riding on Stone. And again, Riding on Stone is often over booked, and so, but if you're at Milk River, you can drive out there and walk through, the hoodoos and see everything there, and then come back to Milk River. But appreciate that, and take care, Laura. Brian, please address how Alberta could do business with U.S. when Canada has established and competing contracts. Thank you. Well, first of all, Brian, I want to say that the free trade deals that we have been making are always protecting the auto industry. They've been protecting the dairy milk industry. Albertans are more than able and competent to compete with the U.S. and the world. And so we actually can have free trade with all of the nations that, again, are operating under the rule of law and a free market. I just don't see a problem. I actually see a massive attraction of capital, businesses wanting to start up here. We'll be very excited to have truck and car manufacturers come here, because we're not going to shut down the gas and diesel engines like they're wanting to do out east. We understand how valuable and economic these vehicles are, everything from agricultural to moving our kids around. And it always amazes me that they never look at the full cost cycle or the full environmental impact of windmills, of electric cars. They want to shut down mining for oil and gas, but yet they want to open up mining for rare minerals and whatnot, so that they can build an electric car. They're just such hypocrites. And it goes back, and I guess I got to ask David. I've watched it a couple times, but did we show the North Face video that Energy Liberty Energy put out? Did we show that?
No, we did not.
Let's show that, because I'm sorry, I get ahead of myself here, but let's show the hypocrisy of businesses and these big companies like North Face. But let's show that video.
Honest question. Who doesn't love rich pettiness? North Face refused to make jackets for an oil and gas company. So the fossil fuel industry is fighting back with a new campaign, thanking North Face for using so much petroleum in their products.
I'm Chris Wright, CEO of Liberty Energy. North Face recently came out against my industry, even refusing to let one of my competitors put their company logo on a North Face jacket. I went through North Face's website of wide-ranging products, and I failed to find a single product that wasn't made out of oil and gas. The great majority of North Face's products, jackets, backpacks, outdoor pants, shirts, shoes, hats, etc., are dominantly made out of the oil and gas that we so proudly produce. Globally, 60% of all clothing fibers are made out of oil and gas. For North Face, it is likely 90% or more. So North Face is not only an extraordinary customer of the oil and gas industry, they are also a partner with the oil and gas industry. So thank you, North Face, and you're welcome.
When you watch that, these CEOs, you have CEOs at the top of the food chain, right down to our students in school that are receiving this propaganda. But there's a total disconnect on where anything and everything comes from, right from our food to our clothing to our cars, our home heating, and this just repulsive virtue signaling that carries on. It is gobsmacking to me. Like, how can you be so ignorant of the facts? Like, of all places, North Face and all of their polyester and their man-made fabric, and they don't realize that it comes from the petrochemical industry, which comes from oil and gas. This is a major problem. It's why we need to be a sovereign nation, so that we can actually educate our children and they know. I always give the pathetic analogy that the grade 6 science students are being charged with making the world a better place, and so they order in a bunch of chicken McNuggets, and they're sitting there at lunchtime working on their project, and they come up with this idea because they viewed and seen videos of chicken barns and the stench and what it was like and everything else. They thought, oh, this is just terrible. We shouldn't be allowing, chicken barns and this type of stuff. Let's ban chicken barns while they're eating their McNuggets. I mean, this disconnect from reality is alarming. It needs to change. It needs to start changing here in Alberta so that our youth and even our businesses understand where things actually come from and where our prosperity and our, I mean, there's just so many benefits that we have here in Alberta. And it's a direct result because of our oil and gas industry. And to want to shut them down like Rachel Notley wants to, like Justin Trudeau wants to, boy, you hypocrites, you go live without it, but don't tell us that we don't. I mean, they're just clueless. But anyways, I'm sorry that I missed that, but it kind of related back there is that people just don't understand, and we need to do a better job so people do understand and realize that. Another question. Joey, hi Paul, you mentioned forming your own police force, but what about our own military, national, and defense? Excellent, Joey, and that'll absolutely be critical. One of the great benefits that we have here in Alberta is that we got Suffield and we got Cold Lake. We have two of the military biggest bases in Canada and North America, and that'll be inside of sovereign Alberta. And just so you realize that we send about $50 billion a year in taxes down to Ottawa. I haven't verified it, but I have been told that, why is that not working? My computer's going to shut down here, but hopefully this one won't. That I've been told that it costs about $15 billion to run the military front lines, and about $5 to $6 to $7 billion for management and the big central offices down there. I can't remember who the general was I listened to back in 2007 or 2008. He came to Lethbridge and he put on a presentation there, but he jokingly said, you could blow up our Ottawa office and the frontline field wouldn't know about it or bother for a year. We absolutely will want to have our own military. My point is that the extra money that we send to Ottawa and get nothing back would run the whole Canadian military. We'll supply it, we'll fortify it, we'll get new state-of-the-art equipment, and those will all be things that we'll be putting in place while we're taking the steps to be independent. But excellent question. I also believe that we should be much more like the Swiss people in that we'll have, the rural people and city people that want to be part of the military, that will have a system set up so that they can partake and participate with that as well. That we do know and understand the essential needs of that. And a great question and something that we don't often talk about, but we need to be aware of. So thank you. Patrick, when we have a provincial police force with civilian oversight, will we have a civilian oversight with city police as well? Yes, we need to change our whole judicial system, right from the judges down to our police and I want to call our justice system. Is that one of the problems that exists anywhere when there's zero accountability and you're appointed for life, or when you're got all the power and authority that we see exercised by the police force, it doesn't end well. And what we absolutely need is elected civilian oversight that actually are the ones that oversee and ensure that our justice system and our police forces are actually there to protect Albertans and our property and our lives. Not to be there as compliance officers and to make our lives miserable by saying you've stepped out of line, you've done this. It's just kind of crazy the way they behave. But with elected civilian oversight, those civilians, if they've gone sideways, we can actually recall those people and replace them. But I'm a big believer in that elected civilian oversight to make those decisions, to hold those people in positions of power and stuff accountable. But hope that answers your question. Excellent one, and look forward to having a justice system rather than a legal system and a police force that's actually there to protect our lives and our property and our businesses. Rob, but what happens to the balance still with the feds? Talking about AOC and CBV, do we just lose that? Well, first of all, there's an unfunded liability in the Canada pension plan. They don't have enough to fund everything. And again, when we're making the deal, cutting the deal with Ottawa, we're doing it from a point of strength. And again, if in fact that we can't get anything back, which I kind of think is kind of likely, they're bankrupt, they're broke, they don't have anything. By starting our own, we're immediately growing the fund starting the first year. And so we'll be better off to quit putting our money into a black hole, and we can just ensure that our seniors are going to receive the benefits that they need. But it's a good question. You know, we got $1 trillion debt right now, but again, when you're sitting down and doing the negotiations, you need to realize that we put in $650 billion extra over the last 35 to 40 years. And we'll be starting with that bargaining point, not the fact that they've got $1 trillion debt and that we owe 10% of that or 14% because of our population. The other thing is that there'll be taxation by representation. In the Senate, we only have 6% of the seats, and that's where we'll be starting our bargaining from, is that we're only going to be paying 6%, and our representation will equal our taxation on federal programs that we want to participate with while we're sorting all of this out. But we need to stand up for ourselves. We need our own bank account, and we can't be sending it down to Ottawa and then asking for our lunch money back because they don't care if we starve to death. And so we need to look after ourselves, and that's exactly what we'll do. Michael, does today's Wild Rose have a place or plan for Brian Jean? Well, I think that you should ask Brian Jean that. They've all been aware, and I've talked to them. They've come to some of our functions. And Brian Jean, last time that he was at a function, he challenged me and he says, Paul, have you looked at the polls? Only 25% of Albertans want to separate. Why are you doing this? Brian Jean is a federalist. My response to Brian Jean then is that, you know, my thought of polls is the same as Churchill's. What they serve a good purpose for is for dogs to relieve themselves on. It's not about polls. It's about doing what's right. It's about surviving. And the Wild Rose is open to anybody who realizes the dire situation that we're in and wants to be part of. But to my knowledge, and it's been a couple of months since I've talked to Brian Jean, maybe even more since I've seen him, but he's a federalist, and he's looking at the polls and what's popular and where we need to be. And that's the furthest thing from where I'm at. And again, I'm quite confident if you were to ask him about the Paris Accord, that he, like the federal MPs and things that we have in Jason, we've got to meet the Paris Accord. And I'm sorry, that's unacceptable for me. And I think for most Wild Rosers, we realize that the facade that is, the hypocrisy of all of that. And we're not going to shut down our oil and gas industry. We're not going to pretend to and do this so-called virtue signaling where we're going to capture CO2 and put it in the ground or something else to think that we're going to get a social license for like Rachel and stuff. That you can't appease these people. We need to be proud of our industry. We need to show the benefits. The government doesn't recognize the superior environmental and labor laws that we have here in Alberta, and the blessing that's been around the world for the technological advances and the innovation and the entrepreneurs in Alberta's oil and gas industry. Much of that has been discovered and built here in Alberta and then gone around the world to provide hydrocarbons, which again just raises the quality of life for people around the world. And so Brian Jean, Paris Accord, federalism, I think that's where he's at, but you send him an email and see what he thinks. But these people all are well aware of what we're doing. Again, they're cowards in my opinion, because the support isn't there, and they're risking their political capital to come here. But as we jump up to 20% and 30%, there's going to be a lot of wannabe politicians that say, "Oh, I'm there." Let's not get fooled again by people who aren't willing to stand up now and realize that these people are not reliable or trustworthy to be principled. They're just looking for parades to join and to lead if they can. But anyways, appreciate the question, and don't know. Renee, I don't trust the Western Standard. It's not clear to me that they aren't funded by the NDP. You're going to have to expand on that, Renee. I'm pretty confident that they're not funded by the NDP. But I mean, if you know something that I don't know, send it along. But I think the real problem with trust lies in our government, lies in our civil servants, lies with our chief medical officers. It lies with the College of Physicians. Boy, when it comes to trust, those people in authority are the ones that I'm more worried about. And again, Premier Kenney has taken the Western Standard to court, and we'll see where it ends up. But I just, like I said, I'm not quite sure why you said they're funded by the NDP, but just because they're wanting to bring down Jason Kenney, I guess. Haven't really thought of that. But anyways, don't know how else to answer that one. 780 people. So I guess this is Northern Alberta loves Alberta. The unions in Alberta have a lot of influence over teachers, nurses, etc. How does WIPA plan to deal with their influence over the public perception? Well, 780 love, that's an excellent question, and I'm kind of excited to answer that. Under our current economic conditions, all of our social programs are at risk. Our education system's at risk, our healthcare system's at risk, our senior care, everything that we're providing as a safety net for people is at risk because of the deficit that we're running. Rachel had 4 years and wasn't able to fix our healthcare or education system and bring down the numbers. And it all goes back to taxation. We can't send our tax dollars down to Ottawa and keep our healthcare and our education, our fire department, our police, all of those things. With the Wild Rose, these programs will be secure. We'll be able to increase the number of nurses. We'll be able to build hospitals. We'll be able to build ICU beds and to fully fund them and have them there. We'll be able to reduce taxation on Albertans and Alberta businesses. All of those things are possible when we get rid of that ball and chain of Ottawa. And so actually, I think that as we get out the message to the unions and to the teachers and Teachers Association, that they'll look at it and realize that, wow, this is a benefit, that we're going to have more money for education than the other ones here. Sorry about that. But anyways, I'm excited because this plan works. It works for our social system. It works for our economy. And most important, it'll start protecting our freedoms. But that's how I believe and feel that we'll be successful. And we'll start, first we're going to be taking away the support for the UCP, and then we're going to be taking away support from the NDP as we're able to get our message out and to actually show a path forward that's economically successful, that will give us prosperity here in Alberta. And like I say, we can enhance our social net, everything from our Alberta pension plan for our seniors to our rooms in our schools, and just it's just going to be a lot better to get rid of that ball and chain and that expense of Ottawa and again their draconian rules. But thanks for the question. Brian, is it possible for WIPA to claim seats in the next election and become a coalition party? Is it possible? Well, I think that it's inevitable that we're going to win. We're early on. When you see the growth of this party, again, I'm looking forward to those of you, if you're watching and you're not a member, the leadership race is a one-horse race right now with Paul Hinman, me, being the only accredited contestant, but I still need to get your vote. On July 12th and 13th, the members will be able to vote. I need 50% plus one to become your elected leader. Yeah, David, you need to put that question back up there for me again. Sorry. I got off on a tangent there, and yeah, put that back up. To claim seats. I'm not sure what you mean by claim seats. We're going to win seats in the next election. And again, once we have an elected leader, we can get out and we can do a lot more and share our message. We need to increase the donations that we're getting, and as the members see what we're doing with that and the message we can get out there, perhaps even billboards, a lot more stuff on social media, possibly lawn signs where our members can start putting them up, bumper stickers. We're going to get more swag out there for members to have and to share with their friends, family, and co-workers. But we are going to win seats, and like I say, our goal is to form a solid majority government, and I very much think it's doable. When you look to see where we're at in this first year, and it's amazing, you know, June 29th will be our 1-year anniversary. And that's exciting that we're at 20% in the polls across Alberta. You take rural Alberta and you separate Edmonton and Calgary, we're over 30%. And again, some polls are showing us already winning between 1 to 4 seats. And the projection is that we're easily looking at 35 seats by some pollsters that I've been listening to. But anyways, it's exciting. We have a great message. This is real hope for the future. And as we get out and share that in the next year and 3 quarters, I think a lot of people are going to come on board, and you're going to see a Wild Rose Nation wave across Alberta. But that's for me. That's my thoughts. But thanks for the question. Wow, I can't believe that an hour's already gone by here. Where do you stand on unions? Do you think that we should lose unions? And of course, the companies that feed them, if we were to separate? Excellent question, Rob. You know, there's absolutely a time, you know, back in the 1800s, the early 1900s, when unions played a critical role. When you look at unions now, boy, I don't know. I often wonder. But for me, there's 3 things that citizens need to be aware of. Number 1 is big government. Big government's bad. It just it's like cancer. It's out of control. It destroys our lives, our freedoms, and it's a problem. The next one is big business. When you get the monopolies and you allow big businesses to take over different industries, that's a concern for me. And the third one is big unions. But when you get all 3 together and they're colluding, we as citizens end up paying a premium price for a poor product. I think unions are fine, but we can't have centralized government. We can't have centralized unions, and unions need to actually be like elected representatives and representing the people that they're actually concerned about. And this idea of focusing and centralizing all of these votes, and the big union leaders say, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that, I think is a problem. But again, in the free market and people being able to have access to good work, I think you'll see unions continuing to lose their power, and will be for the benefit of Albertans and the workforce. That these big unions that are centralized and having 80 or 90,000 members, it's not about the little members. It's about central office. But I just really want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody who's bought a membership. Thank everybody for donating. I'm still out on the road. Tomorrow I'll be at the Whistle Stop Cafe from, I don't know whether they'll make it there at noon or from 1 till 4 or so. So if anybody can make it out to Chris Scott, the Whistle Stop Cafe, I'll be there tomorrow. But it takes money to be campaigning and to doing things. And so if you would consider that we're on the right path and doing the right things, please consider donating to my campaign at paulhinman.com, or you can do an e-transfer to paulhinmancampaign@gmail.com. But it's exciting. I've been on the road. We're getting the message out, and Albertans are responding, and they're responding in a wave. And to think that we're at 20% is just great. But can't thank you enough. Let's keep sharing the message. Tune in on my Twitter and my Facebook page. Please like. Please retweet, please share. We need to get the message out, and we'll keep doing it together as a team of Wild Rosers. And we're looking to form the Wild Rose Nation that will be strong and free. And I can't thank each and every one of you enough for the support that you've been giving. And let's share the message. I'm just so optimistic. We're down so low. But yet now to see a way out is exciting for me, and I hope it's exciting for you. And we've just got some great stuff coming out here in the next couple of months that I think will excite the members even more. But take care and God bless, and let's not do any virtue signaling. Let's do what's right and what we know to be true. But take care and good night.